boys and girls, welcome to day 3 of our project. On the first day, we filled in this top section and found the different shapes and colored them in nicely and made sure there was no white spots. On the second day, we created 2 different patterns by drawing some more lines and then creating the shapes inside there. And we learned about freeform shapes and how they might not have a name, but how they kind of look like something. Like this one looks like a flower to me, like the top side view of a flower. And we added some more loopy lines to our picture, and we created a pattern. So yellow, purple, yellow, purple, yellow, purple, yellow, purple, yellow, purple, yellow, purple. Today we're going to work on this section here. Now this section might be a little tricky because it has a line, but the line doesn't connect. So it actually goes in to this next area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an imaginary line. And I'm going to use my paint and I'm going to draw a line that goes from one side of my paper to the other. And I'm going to fill all this area in with that color. So that even though there is not a real line there, I am dividing or splitting up that and creating 2 sections so that I don't have to paint in the whole area. I can just work on one at a time. So it's not a real line, but it's an imaginary line. So now that I've colored and painted in everything for that area, I can go back and I can add decorations or details. I might want to do some dots, some little dots, maybe some bigger dots. Just using the tip of my brush to do that. And then maybe I can create a pattern so it goes back to the little dots. And then the big dots. And back to those little dots. Little dots. Finally, big dots, big dots. My voice goes deep because it's a big dot. Okay, so you can see that that's starting to spread as the paint spreads into the blue paint. I'm gonna wipe off my brush and I'm going to look at this next section. So this next section, it has these spirals, and I think the spirals are so pretty, but there's so much color because this back area doesn't stop, and it keeps going and going and going in. So if I want to create a shape from this, I can draw in some little lines, make it look more like a snail shell. I go in and in and in, and we're going to leave this last area itself. So maybe I'll start here with pink, and I'll add some more pink. We don't have to do a pattern. We don't have to do that. We can do it if we want to, but we don't have to. So maybe it's not a pattern. Maybe it's just colors. So if I want to add my next one, I could do a purple here on this one, and maybe another purple one over here on this one, and maybe one more purple square on that one. And then I can move on to yellow, and I can do a yellow square on this one, and a yellow square here, and a yellow square here, and maybe one more yellow square right here. And do a green square here, and a green square here. Maybe I just have two green squares. And, oh, I like this blue. So I'm going to do the last two, this nice blue. It's a little different than the blue I used before. So we are okay. Remember, don't use the same color. Make sure that the color stands out so you can see where those lines are, where they start and stop. So I did one, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do the other three. So we're going to do the other three together. Okay, so now I have colored in my spirals with lots of different colors. And the last thing I'm going to do today is color in this background. So I can do a couple of things. I can do something similarly like I did up here, where I just colored it all blue and then added little dots. Or I can do something like I did before, which is where you add more lines. That go around to create different shapes on your paper. So you can do it either way. You can paint or color in the whole background, or you can break it up into different shapes. So I broke it up into different shapes, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to color them in nice and neatly, just like I have before. So I'm going to go through and we're going to color it in at the same time. Okay, so I colored it in, but I started getting a little messy in some areas. So I have to make sure I can find that same color crayon, and I need to go back in and make sure that I have colored it in all the way so that there's no white spaces. So if I left it like that, I would be able to tell that there are lots of white spaces and that I wasn't doing my personal best. So remember, we want to try to do our best and take our time working on these. And like I said before, if your hand gets a little tired, you can take a break and move it around and up and down and up and down, and that'll help your hand. But you're always welcome to take a break if you need to, because sometimes it can start making your hand hurt a little bit, and that happens. Making sure all those white spaces, sometimes it's those little teeny tiny ones, and if you can't get them all, that's okay. Just do your best. That's what we ask, is that you always do your best. It's okay if you make a mistake, as long as you're trying your best. Okay, and even this one here has some white spaces, so I need to go back in my purple crayon using the same color. Remember, we want to use the same color to match it so that it doesn't look messy. Trying our best to make it look nice and neat. We always want to be proud of our work, always striving for our personal best, however that is, whatever that looks like. Doing everything that we can to make our art look really beautiful. And that just means not scribbling, making sure to color those white spaces in, and going back. And maybe taking a break. You don't have to do this all at once. You can take some breaks if you need to. So don't forget that. All right. Okay. So I have that All right. Okay. So I have that next section done, and we have one more day to work on that final piece. We did day 1, day 2, day 3, and we have our last day here.